Breakout in progress.
Friends, being creative is not a choice or a hobby. It's a way of life. Creativity is God's gift to man, and what he does with that is his gift to God. It's a very, very fair deal between the two, the creator and his creation. What links the creator with the creation is creativity. And it is absolutely no way that you can succeed in life without being creative. That is the beauty of it. Let us begin our session today by introducing and understanding creativity through multiple masterclasses. Understanding creativity itself is such a tough job. It is not such an easy thing. You just cannot understand creativity so very easily. In fact, there has been a huge amount of work which has been going on, and one of the leading scientists who has been doing this is from Harvard University by the name Teresa Amabel. Huge amount of work has gone, and we will see today one very funny survey which was conducted by Adobe. We will begin our masterclass on creativity, the study conducted by Adobe that found that only 20% of the people who were asked, the survey was conducted, felt that they were living to their creative potential. What does that mean? That means only 1 out of every 5 people were satisfied with using their creative ability. And what is more, 62% of the people say that it is education which was suppressing their creativity. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that they are right to a very large extent. And we will see how it is so. And what's more, another 75% think they are creative, but they don't have the opportunity to express it. What is your opinion? If the same survey was conducted with you, what would you say? 20% say that they are living to their creative potential. About 62% say that it is education which is suppressing their creativity, otherwise they are fundamentally creative. And 75% of the people feel that they are unable to get the opportunity to be creative and use their creativity. What is your opinion, my dear friends? Can any one of you tell me? Can maybe 1 or 2 of you unmute yourself and tell me your opinion? What do you feel?
Many times I'm not able to express my creativity because of lack of acceptance or confidence in me.
Okay. So you feel that you are not able to express your creativity because of lack of confidence inside yourself about your creative ability, is it?
Yeah. Sometimes, sir. This is M. Chidambaram, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chidambaram. Very nice of you to come out openly and tell it. Anyone else, please?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, yes.
I'm Yogita this side.
Yeah.
So basically, I feel that I'm gone so ahead in my career that now I realize that the things where I felt creative are left long back.
Okay,
so
very interesting take. Please listen to her carefully. She feels that she has moved ahead so much in her career that she has lost her opportunity to be creative.
Yeah. So now after 22, 23 years of career, through your group or through these sessions, I'm trying to get hold to that lost opportunity. And I'm thinking that maybe it's not too late till now.
Okay, excellent, Yogita ji. Yes, anybody else?
Sir, Kumaran, feel education.
Yes.
Education ruined my creativity.
What ruined your creativity?
Education suppressed my creativity.
Okay, education suppressed your creativity. Fantastic. Anybody else?
Regular monotonous work pressure.
Who's speaking?
Yeah, Kumaran.
Yes, Kumaran.
Regular monotonous work pressure left me out of the creativity.
Okay, so regular work pressure is getting him out of creativity. Friends, I will request
Sir.
you to remember all these sentences.
Sir, I have something to say. I'm Dr. Trinath.
Yes, Dr. Chinna, tell me.
See, I think I should not blame anybody for the lack of creativity in me. For my non-awareness and no knowledge of its relevance to my career, I think I repent today at this age that I am responsible for my not being creative to whatever extent it is.
Excellent, excellent. See, one more take. One more take. But remember one thing. None of you have till now said that you are using your creativity, or that you are creative, or that you are doing something creative.
Okay,
Please
Das.
make a very clear note of it. Yes, anybody else?
I'm SK Das.
Yes, doctor.
I'm using my creativity to limited extent.
Okay.
Mostly I'm not using because of my lethargy.
Okay, excellent. The lethargy. So because of your lethargy.
Sir,
Yes.
I'm Jagannath Rao here.
Yeah.
Till I entered my job, I was not aware of what is creativity.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Because my
Here is
job,
one gentleman. Yeah.
my job was to read, get marks, get ahead, get rank. Only that was the aim. Creativity, I was not aware because nobody told me to be creative. Only after
Beautiful.
joining the job, I find people doing a lot of things differently. That's where I became aware of creativity. Then I think I apply here and there. I don't say I don't apply. So the same session, if I have to take the same subject, I try to, from my yoga experience, make some examples and make people laugh. So some creativity I use
Yes,
here and there.
Okay.
very good.
Anybody
very
else? Yes, Mr. Goswami.
Arunji, shall I share one thing? I'm Halima Sadia, Dr. Halima
Yes,
Sadia.
yes, Dr. Halima, please, please.
good.
I must confess that if I have achieved anything in life, like I'm working as a principal in Maldives and earlier I was in Dubai. So it's just because of little creativity that I have used, because I was very average student as far as academic is concerned. And as far as the other skills are concerned, I am like just an average. But I try to do the things differently. And that might be the reason why the people think that I can bring some innovation in their schools. And that's why they provided me the opportunity. And then in that way, I can say that creativity is really paying us if we religiously follow our intuition and follow our heart and mind.
Excellent, excellent, Halima ji. Thank you for your input.
In my
Yes, Goswami
opinion,
sir.
I'm SK Das.
Also,
I'm
We will
SK
just
Das.
take two more. Yeah, yes, Dr. Das. Tell me.
In my opinion, the system, the standards in the corporate world is a limiting factor. That everything puts into system, follow the norms, follow the rules, and don't do anything of your own. And to some extent, this is responsible mostly in corporate world to suppress creativity of an individual.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Goswami sir, last one. Then we will
Yes.
move on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So I
Yeah,
fear
okay.
from taking any risk. So second, I think log kya kahenge if I do something new, that is always in my mind. So what the people will say about me. That's why I don't want to do something new. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. What a wonderful thing, huh? Yes, we'll take one more. Just one more hand has risen. Last one. Tulika
Yeah.
Chaudhary, yes.
Hello, everybody. Good
Yes.
evening. This is Tulika. And my opinion is that creativity, yes, that is something very beautiful. We would love to embrace that. But sometimes when we don't have the right knowledge, we don't have the right avenues, we don't have the right path or the right guidance, then we don't know how to utilize that or how to, streamline it in our careers, in our lives.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much.
Yes. Now we will stop here. We will proceed. Yeah, everyone will get an opportunity to participate in other questions. Let's not get stuck with one. Good. What is the opposite of good? Evil. What is the opposite of light? Darkness. right? The world is full of dichotomy. What is the opposite of creativity? Today, you are going to see creativity from an entirely different angle. An angle possibly which you have never thought about. Maybe you have never thought about it. Because this angle is still evolving through the research which is being conducted on cognitive science, neuroscience, and management science. All these three sciences put together are doing intense work on creativity, because without creativity, there is no creation. Let us first understand that. If the creator were not creative, you and I would not be sitting here discussing creativity. That means the fundamental of life is creativity. If the foundation, the fundamentals of life is creativity, why is it we are so far away, as per all of you, from it? Because I'm sure if I were to ask you to define creativity, again, there will be another checkmate on the chessboard. Including me, possibly, none of us really understand how to define creativity. So let us together travel, my dear friends, and try to understand, as they say in Hindi, ye chidiya kya hai? What is this thing called creativity? We will be conducting 2 introductory classes on introduction of creativity itself, only introduction on creativity. 75% think that they are creative but don't have the opportunity to express it. That's where we left it. Then when we did the survey with you all came up with so many wonderful answers as to what you feel would be your answer according to the question. My dear friends, these figures don't tell the real story. The truth is that 100%, every one of us are born creative and have been creative the entire time in our childhood. All young kids have creative ideas. They make up imaginary playmates, play with dolls and action figures, bake, cook food in imaginary vessels, solve fictional mysteries, play detective with other kids, sing songs, make up songs, dance in free form. They draw, they make houses out of cardboard cartons, rockets out of empty bottles. But as we grow, things change. As someone rightly observed, our education system teaches us that there is only one correct answer to everything. We are given multiple choice questions, and we are asked to select the one right answer from it. We are taught at that very young, impressionable age that if you have multiple questions, you have only one right answer. We are given accurate and false, what is right, what is wrong questions, and we have to answer. And everywhere we are taught how to be stereotyped. Even as older adults, we take driving licenses, tests, and test only with one correct answer. We have created a society around us with zero tolerance to multiplicity. We all think that there is only one answer to everything, and the outcome is the smiling child is suppressed. We have created a society that has taught us from the young age to zero in on one way of thinking about each issue and topic. This squelches our creative ideas. Imagine the dichotomy. You are born creative, but as you grow up, you lose your entire creativity. The question is, why does this happen? Is our education system to blame? Or is nature to blame? For long, we were thinking it is our education system to blame. Like someone said, that our education has made it so. No, my dear friends. Reasons modern cognitive science and neuroscience says this dichotomy is natural. Let's understand that from how our brain works. Nature created a considerable contradiction when it created the brain. It's a new angle to you, isn't it? Here is someone who is saying that brain is a contradiction. The brain is a complicated creative information processing machine. It's a complicated but very creative information processing machine. But unfortunately, the instruction to it by nature is quite the opposite of being creative. Yes, nature has given it an instruction, which is quite opposite. Please, I'll request everyone to mute themselves. But the instruction to it is quite opposite of being creative. How is it so? Can any one of you tell me how it is so?
Could you repeat the question, sir, please?
This brain is a very complex, creative information processing system. But nature has given it an instruction, an order, which makes it just the opposite of being creative. How is it so?
Conditioning of brain.
Sir, is it because of survival, the instinct for survival, it is tuned for that, to be safe?
I think we are supposed to be logical in our approach all the time.
Okay. So why being logical should not be creative?
Lack of freedom. Sir. Lack of freedom.
Huh?
Sir, lack of
Teachers
freedom.
order
Lack of
maybe
freedom to execute our. Sir,
Lack of,
Teachers
yes,
or-
Mr. Nagi Reddy.
lack of freedom to execute our creativity. Society set some area, set some
How can
boundaries. We should
nature
not
give
go
an
beyond the boundary.
order? Please think the question correctly. How can nature give an order to it which will stop it from being creative?
Probably the brain wants all information, and then it will give the instructions to the.
That is also creativity, isn't it?
Yogi
Yes,
is
Nagi
there.
sir.
So,
Yes,
He's
Mr.
a
Nagi Reddy.
failure.
maybe
Just a minute. Just a minute. We'll come from Nagi Reddy.
maybe
sir,
it
first.
is
Yes.
neural resistance. Neural resistance.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Mr. Nagi Reddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the very nature of a little voice is to protect us. It keeps us in the comfort zone. And that's the reason the tendency is to not go beyond the comfort zone. Hence, the creativeness or other things what they're going to be, they come the risky proposal. And what it tries to do is, as long as you're allowing your little voice to master you, you're the slave and you don't get into the creative zone.
Okay.
sir, when our intelligence and emotions are opposite, that's what creates the imbalance. When my emotions
Okay.
goes high, my intelligence takes a hit. It's the other way around.
But that's okay. But tell me, how is it that nature has given this instruction? In what has nature given the instruction?
It is our own self-talk.
Suppression is thinking very hard. What does he mean by this?
Sir, is it our own self-talk?
Okay, let's see.
Sir,
Good try, everyone. Good try. Very good try.
sir, you are a failure. Yeah, Jagannath here. So we
Yeah,
are.
please
we are
mute.
com-
Please
We
mute.
are comfortable to be a compliant child.
Okay, very good.
We are
Yeah,
comfortable.
all
to
of
be
you
a
are
compliant
right.
child.
All of you are right. Now let us understand how nature and why nature has given this instruction, which has blocked the creativity of the brain. And effort has to be made to bring it back to its original self. Do you realize the brain
Sir,
constitutes only...
Avina, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I think the right brain is for more towards creativity and left brain is towards accepting logical orders from
Yeah,
the
that is true. The division
nature.
of the right
So
and
there
left, you are right, but that
there-
is not
there
the
is a-
thing.
there is a
Okay, madam.
differences in the correlation and neural pathways, sir. Maybe
Okay. Now let us see
neural
what
resistance we
happened.
can say.
Just a minute.
That is avoiding creativity.
Please listen. I have heard you. Now listen to me. The brain consists of only 2% of the body weight. 2% of your body weight is the weight of the brain. But are you aware that it consumes over 20% energy of your body? Left without any control, it will corner all the energy and starve all the other organs to death. So nature ensured that the brain will not consume all the energy and others will also be able to survive in the body so that the entire organism can survive and grow. It did so by creating a system for the brain to work in. The brain works in a system, and that system is called the pattern recognition model. The pattern recognition is the method of identifying, analyzing, and working with inputs and images, which is fed into the brain by the sensory organs. Our 5 sensory organs feed images, inputs, sensations to the brain. The brain creates a pattern with that, and the output is in the form of patterns, which is what our conscious brain recognizes. This is exactly the opposite of creative functioning. We will see how. The 5 phases of pattern recognition are: number 1 is sensing. You sense your surrounding through the 5 organs, 5 sense organs. Having sensed the surrounding through the 5 sense organs, you segment everything that you have sensed into boxes. This is a boy, this is a girl, this is a car, this is a house, this is an auto, this is a street. You have segmented everything that you have seen. On what basis do you segment? Through feature extraction. There are features for each of these elements. Based upon those features, you are aggregating it and you are segmenting it. And now you have classified it. You have created various buckets for each one of them. And through these buckets, you now start your processing. That means the entire brain, so that it can reduce its energy consumption. Just imagine, you see a man. The moment you see a man, you classify the entire, you see something, you process the information, and then you assign the label man to him. How did you do that? You do that because he has a mustache, he has got masculine sexual features, he has got 2 hands, 2 legs, a face, nose, ears. All these things you have judged, and within minutes you have come to the conclusion that he is a man. All these things, my dear friends, you have done without any waste of time. That means all these were already stored inside you. There are 5 different phases in the pattern recognition, such as sensing, segmentation, feature extraction, classification, and then post-processing. With the help of these phases, pattern recognition can be done of any type of input. In fact, this is what has been converted into machine learning, if I'm not mistaken. Now we are going to break the 73 people who are there into a breakout room activity. Let's have a group activity now to brainstorm the outcome of this pattern recognition behavior of the brain and how it impacts us. How we conveniently accommodated it into our lives and made it mandatory for acceptance in our regular life, so much that it is not practiced. We rate the person as not being fit for anything. Imagine something which is just opposite of creativity, which is put into boxes rigidly. If we don't practice that, we discard that person as not being fit for anything. So what are the outcome of this pattern recognition which happens in our life? Because of this pattern recognition, what happens to us? There are 70 people here. Let me break you into 7 rooms. All of you are conversant with how to work in the breakout room. Now, once I put you into the breakout room, you will get on the screen, join room. Please click on that join room and you will go to that room. Your members of that room will be there. Please discuss with them and tell me this pattern recognition, which is the activity, which is the fundamental way the brain has been forced to work, how it has affected you. How this pattern activity has affected you. Do you want to see that the screen again? The pattern activity has got 5 phases of sensing, segmentation, feature extraction, classification, and post-processing. This is not a sequence like this, it is a circuit. But these are the 5 phases of pattern recognition. This is how the brain works. This is how nature has decided that the brain should work. And this is what is creating all the problem in the creativity. Now I am going to break you all into 7 rooms. Where is the breakout room? I opened the rooms. Please go and join. Please join the rooms and tell me how this pattern recognition system has created a problem in your life, in what way. You will have 20 minutes to do this. Please join the rooms so that you can discuss with your team members and come to the conclusion. Mr. Manan, Mr. Gunjan Ratogi, Mr. Natarajan.
Sir, I'm seeing another breakout room activity. Shall I have to call the members because some of them are not joined?
Huh?
I see the breakout rooms and the composition. Some members are yet to join. Being a co-host, have I got to call out them? Like
you can ask them to join.
Yeah. Room number 1, Mr. Gunjan Rastogi, please join. Except you, all others are in the room number 1. And room number 2, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert Banda. Please join. Room number 3, Mr. Suranarayana Ramasetu and Mr. VM Vinod Menon. Please join. Mr. Vinod, please join. Room number 3. Room number 4, Mr. Annamalai Natarajan. All are, yeah, Mr. Annamalai Natarajan, please join. Room number 5, Firoz Sheikh, please join. Yeah, I will join later. Mr. Firoz Sheikh, please join room number 5. Good, room number 6, everyone tagged. Yes, room number 7, Mr. Edward Lungu. Please join room number 7. Mr. Edward Lungu, please join room number 7. All others are awaiting your presence, Mr. Edward. Room number 7, please. Yeah, room number 6 is full. Mr. Firoz Sheikh, please join room number 5. Mr. Firoz Sheikh, room number 5. Room number 4 is intact, good. Room number 3, Mr. Vinod Menon, please join. Mr. Vinod Menon, please join, sir. Room number 3. Room number 2, good. Room number 1, yes, everyone there. Sir, Arun sir, there are unassigned 2 persons. One is Malik Pakir, another is Alfred Arun Kumar Daniel. They had to be assigned rooms, sir. Okay, I'm assigning. Mr. Alfred Arun Kumar, please join room number 6. Join room number 5. Mr. Alfred Arun Kumar. Mr. Malik Pakir, I'm assigning you to room number 2.
Sir, I was in the room number 3, sir.
Room, right? When we all were put into
I
this
seen
room.
as room number
Took about
2.
few
Okay,
seconds
I
for
will
us
move
to
it to
start
room number
opening
3.
up because
Is it
we were
okay?
Okay, if you don't mind. Yes, sir, because I
I did.
was not
how
sure.
many people are there, who is
Okay,
going to
thank
be
you,
there,
sir.
who is going.
Mr. Malik Pakir, you are in room number. Is that okay? Thank you. Room number 5, Mr. Alfred Arun Kumar Daniel, you're not yet joined. Mr. Alfred? Mr. Alfred Arun Kumar Daniel, can you join room number 5, please? Mr. Firoz Shah, room number 5. Mr. Firoz Shah, room number 5. Please join. And Mr. Edward, you have to join room number 7. Please join room number 7. Mr. Edward, you're there? Mr. Edward, sir, I request you to move to room number 7. Thank you.
Only we are here, group number 6.
No, I think we are all into one.
Which time? No, it's still continuing. Others for others or what?
No, yeah, I think the others are still in the room, I think, different room.
I think we should wait for the rest of them to join.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, maybe it's an opportunity to speak a little bit about each of us. Okay. Who others are in this group again available now? Only 2-3 of us, or all of us? No.
Yes, we are here again.
There are 17 of them here.
Now, how participants 17? It was 70.
No, they are still in the breakout room. No?
Okay. Like us who came out of the rooms is 17. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Dr. Trinath is from where?
I'm from Visakhapatnam right now. I'm in my native place.
Okay. You are a doctor, means medical doctor or PhD?
No, I'm into management. I'm in HR. It's a secured doctorate from Andhra University.
In a lighter vein, shall I tell you something?
Kindly.
PhD or doctorate also a limitation to our creativity. I feel so. Don't mistake me.
Okay.
Because
Could be.
Because you are going so deeper into a certain subject and studying further very deeper and got the PhD degree. With due respect, I think that is also sometimes a limitation. That's what I feel.
Could be.
But anyway, that's not a thing because creativity is different. Anyway, let's see what the host says. But I am just not personally, just to spend some time, I'm talking.
No problem. Different viewpoints are very, very important.
Yes, exactly. Children enjoy life. They don't make judgments. So they accept everything. I think by this time all should have come. Taking more time, they are coming now.
Okay, 41. I think it's happening now. It's getting closed.
Correct.
It is 56. Yeah, I think it's.
So during our presentation, you should mention 5 phases of recognition, pattern recognition. Just touch the 5 points.
Sir, you are on mute, sir.
You are on mute, sir.
So each of the rooms will get just 2 minutes. I want you to tell me very briefly in just 2 minutes how you feel this pattern recognition system model of the brain has affected you. Is controlling you. Come on. Let's start with room number 1. I request not to take more than 2 minutes because we have to complete by 10. Yes. Who is room number 1, please?
I think ours was room number 1.
Yeah, Sabrina.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, the pattern recognition thing leads to giving a quick, immediate solution to the problem out of what the brain has already learned from the system. Okay, from the past actually. But in a way, what we thought is that all this has culminated into the into what you can say that confirmative mindset, in general, where we try to give a quick solution to the problem, either under the day-to-day pressure that we give a immediate answer based on what is available to us as a quick answer, or we try to get an answer that everybody, including the family or the society, would love to look at, and that way, if there is no enough pressure, actually, I mean, if there is no pressure, or if there is an extreme pressure, like you can't survive with the ready-made answer, in that case, the mind is free enough to reach into the creative zone and uses that extra energy and brings up a real creative solution.
Okay, thank you. Well articulated. Yes, let's move on to room number 2.
This is Vaishali. I'm speaking on behalf of room number 2.
Yeah.
The thoughts that we all put together in our group was as a result of pattern recognition, we try to fit everything into boxes. So this creates a sort of a rigid thought pattern. And we are also programmed that we have to follow a certain pattern. We are programmed to think and behave in a particular manner. Maybe a positive part of it is this pattern is created, or maybe this pattern helps in a uniform understanding of things. So what I perceive as a man, everybody else also perceives as a man. And maybe it on the flip side, it doesn't allow anyone to think differently. Patterns help us to reduce effort on our mundane tasks, and they also stop us from putting in more efforts, and they stop us basically from being creative.
Beautiful, beautiful, very well articulated. Very well articulated.
Yeah, our group also had 2 questions, but I don't know whether this is the time or we'll take it later.
Please ask. Okay.
One question was, is pattern recognition limited to human beings? And secondly, is there a difference between pattern recognition and what we generally call as instinct?
Instinct is the subconscious telling you what its experience is without coming to the conscious. That's what cognitive science is. Pattern recognition, to a very large and conscious extent, is limited only to human beings.
Okay.
You might have seen that there are many experiments being conducted to find out whether animals, guinea pigs and rats and mice and monkeys, can recognize how to do things to stimulus. They are all trying to understand whether the pattern recognition is there or not in them. And to some very small degree, in some cases, they have found that it is there, but to a very large extent, say maybe about 99%, it is limited to human beings.
Okay.
That is what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. And that is the reason why we are at the top of the food chain.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Now, let us go to room number 3. Excellent, Vaishali ji. Your room has done a great job. Room number 3.
Yes, sir. So we are room number 3.
Yeah.
So should we share the screen, or I can just...
Yeah, you can share the screen. No issue. I will give you screen sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So when we were discussing in room 3, there were a couple of points that has come out, but I am just highlighting here those points that were very common. So I have just escalated that. There were fear factor as a child when we get. So then there are some comfort zone, which we don't want to come out of it. Then there are some behavior pattern, past experience, then the thinking pattern, the autopilot mode. With regards to some routine patterns that we have, there is independence to choose, perception part, fear of failure, experimental, and worrying and overthinking as we grow up. So these were some of the points that we could capture, sir.
Okay, good. You see, you have, you have not been able to put everything in the right sequence, but quite a few things you have been able to touch upon, which is very important. This autopilot mode is one very important thing. We will be discussing that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to the team.
Thank you. Great job done. Room number, I think it was room number 3, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, room number 4.
Sir, good evening. This is M. Chidambaram representing group 4.
Yes, sir.
Old wine in a new bottle is a cliche, but many people drink old wine from the oldest bottle because our senses function the usual way. Our eyes don't see the unseen. The ears don't hear the unheard. And we don't feel the unfelt. We don't speak the unspoken. We don't smell the unsmelt. So we never think the unthought. We are conditioned by old perceptions, get stuck in a pattern. Same old oft-repeated pattern which is stale. The rigidity overpowers flexibility. We have patterns, set templates, successful formulas, recipes, which are successful and safe bets. So the mind is prejudiced to accept this solution only. They ignore better options. The mind is conditioned, programmed towards one way of thinking, one line of thought, repeating same old habits, which the mind accepts as the only solution. The only way out is break the pattern. We view, see, feel, smell, talk, and think differently. Thank you, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful. You have given Shakespeare a run for his life.
Thank you, sir.
There are 2 webinars going on. One on literature, the other on creativity. Thank you, Chidambaram, sir. No, you're right. You're right. Absolutely right. Let's move on to room number 5.
I'm SK Das
Actually, he's
from
given the
Das.
Chidambaram
room number
Rahasyam.
5.
Chidambaram Ragasyam.
Our points are mostly hijacked by group number 3, although there was no cross-linking during this session. The pattern
No,
limits
just a minute,
ourselves.
friend, 1 minute. I want you all to remember this term of Mr. S.K. Das. Please remember it. When the time comes, I will tell you why I told you to remember this. He said his points are hijacked by room number 3, even though there was no connection between the 2. Okay, let's remember this because this is something which we are going to see in this webinar. Wait. Yes, Das sir. Tell you.
Okay.
Thank you for introducing this idea.
Yeah. So the pattern recognition is connected to that we all are looking for comfort zone because risk part is very high and uncertainty is also there. And the next part is the fear of failure and conforming to the societal norms. Log kya kahenge? Once we have told earlier, and then at times we are judgmental towards our own decisions, our own thinking. Before we do anything, we start criticizing it, that thinking that we may fail, what will happen and what will be consequence and all that. Instead of trying anything new or any creative idea, we ourselves criticize. That becomes a big hindrance. That's it.
Beautiful,
Thank you.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All of you have been able to touch on certain aspects of it. Only thing is, what we need to do now is put it in the right package.
Sequence.
So that, you see, like they say, anyone can hit a sixer, but to hit it consistently, you need to practice.
Yes.
So all of you are hitting at random, but if you practice, I'm sure you will be able to hit consistently. Room number 6. Thank you, Das.
Good evening, sir. This is Anant Raj from group number 6.
Yes, sir.
See, we what we did was each one of us, we were allowed to speak on their points. We did not disrupt and we allowed to speak. We were not countering them. Some of the points, let me brief. Judgment is one of the biggest limitation for this creativity. Past experiences and maturity, age, pattern in the brain and biased thinking. And one of the participants said, and conscious mind, we are very conscious while behaving. For example, we pretend to, to the society, we pretend we don't be real, we are not real. Opinion of others also. For example, somebody says you are short-tempered. That is the biggest limitation that I myself believe that we are short-tempered. And somebody even said mind clashes. Mindset is one of the greatest factor that limits. And for survival, we put ourselves in the comfort zone. That is also biggest limitation. These are the major points, sir, from room number 6. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, room number 7.
Sir, from room number 7, this is Dr. Veena.
Yes.
So I would like to give a simple example, like on your own path, like you gave the example of potato. So I would like to give a simple example of subject light, properties of light. So this is a subject of light. What are the properties of light? It goes in straight line. That is. Then we are segmenting it as a subject. First thing, for our convenience, we are subjecting that point of light properties of light as a subject. That subject is science. And feature extraction, we are extracting that feature as a lesson. Lesson light. And classification, we are questioning, we are bombarding questioning on the students, like classification. What are the properties of light and what it is going on? And this post-processing is the answers we are getting are post-processing, and the theorems they are articulated from these points are they are hindering, they are restricting the creativity of the child to explore more. See, with this present education system, how many Newtons we can make, and how many Einsteins we can make, and how many Edisons we can make, because it is all the shortcut. It's a best example of shortcut for a shortcut route, because we are from the shackles of conventional shortcut, we are suppressing our brain creativity, and also we are losing the coordination between right and left brain, because right brain is for creativity and left brain is for taking orders. So a student, while giving importance for taking actions, he is suppressing his creativity, and he is suppressing his creative ideas. So this can be done with the film is there, Sare Jameen Par. In that film, it is clearly explained that a boy is sensitized with nature. He is more interested in painting and drawing. That peer group, social pressures, parental pressures, and all of them classified him into a bad boy. A bad boy means average shade, below average shade. But the irony is the boy has a severe extent of empathy. He can empathize with the nature. He can empathize with the butterflies. He can fly around with all these things are being suppressed by the society. So unless one person, that a teacher comes and he extracts his own creativity from that boy. So that's what I would like to say. Sir.
Thank you. Now, beautiful example she has given of light.
Yes.
Should we take this example for about 30 seconds?
Yes.
You are Veena, right?
Yes.
In which class does light travel straight?
In 8th, sir. 8th medium.
8th class. What happens when the student reaches 11th class?
He will be concentrating on.
Now the light is traveling as waves.
Yes, waves. Yeah.
What happens when he reaches MSc? Light is neither traveling as a straight line nor as a wave. Now it has become a photon which vibrates.
And then
just further, in lighter vein, I was telling.
And further confusion is that light is mass or energy. That's a confusion.
Okay, fine. Beautiful. Now we have got a lot of inputs. Now let us see what exactly has happened. What has this pattern recognition done? You see, as long as we were in the kindergarten, our creativity was very high. It was very, very high. And it is very evident. But somewhere along the line, by the time you reach class 6 and from 6 to 12, something changes. We learned that there are rights and wrongs. What should be done, what should not be done. You should not ask dumb questions because children ask all sorts of uncomfortable questions to the teacher and the parents, and the teacher and the parents don't know the answer. When they don't know the answer, the routine, the standard thing is, don't keep asking questions. Listen to what I'm telling, and the matter ends there. Slowly, we are made to think that asking these questions is silly. We are being silly. Don't be childish. And all along, as your child is growing, the brain is also growing, the mind is also growing. It is collecting information, and what it is doing, as we grow up, get an education, gain experience in a particular line of work, the brain organizes whole bundles of information into fixed patterns known as scripts, frames, or schematas, spelled as schemata. Please mute all of you, don't disturb everyone. Bundles of information are stored as schematas, which we store in our memory for rapid access and use. This is what in cognitive science is called heuristics. It is these cognitive maps that enable us to make sense of our world every day without too much mental effort. I think it was Tulika who said that if small things we had to start thinking and working it out, we would go mad. Just imagine if I were to ask you, what do you do the first thing you get up in the morning? You'll say, I'll get up, go wash my face, brush my teeth, relieve myself, and then, freshen up, have my breakfast, tea. Do you think? You just rattle? You just come out with it like a machine gun. But if each and every step you had to think and answer, you go mad. Just imagine getting up in the morning in the bed, your eyes open, then you think, okay, now my eyes have opened. What am I supposed to do next? If this is what you have to do, if this is the type of strain you have to put your brain to, the brain will consume all the energy that the body has and starve every other organ to death. In effect, this is how the mind saves energy. If it were not the case, you'll be overwhelmed by everything that is going on around us. Every piece of sensory information would be like a completely new and potentially bewildering experience that we would need to identify, interpret, analyze to understand our environment. We would constantly have to relearn everything, and every decision, however tiny, would become unnecessarily complex. But by storing familiar patterns for spontaneous recall, we don't have to think about what these things are anymore consciously. But what happens? Nature meant only a portion of your life to be controlled by pattern recognition, only a portion. But unfortunately, what we have done is we have put our entire life into 4 buckets of shortcuts, and we allow it to control our daily life, and then we complain we have lost our creativity. Now, what are those 4 shortcuts? How many of you remember the first day you went to a driving, school to learn driving? It must have been hell. When the person sitting next to you tells you, concentrate on the road, look into the rear view mirror, look into the side mirror, change the gear, release the clutch, press the accelerator, keep your leg on the brake, you must have wondered, what the hell, what all should I do? But ultimately, today you get into the car, start the ignition, go to the office, come back, and as you're having the coffee, you realize that you have driven up, 20 miles, 20 miles down, without even realizing that you have driven it. That, my dear friend, is what is called automaticity. Our pattern recognition system has taken over the job. Someone said, I think it was Sandhya Jayaprakash who said, autopilot, that is automaticity. In fact, 90% of what we do is automaticity. 90% of what we do in a day is because of automaticity. We are in autopilot. And it is to reduce the cognitive load and free our mind to focus on other creative matters that nature told our brain to create these schematas, heuristics, and shortcuts. But unfortunately, we handed over our entire life to it. That brings us to the next thing, which is ruining us. That is called functional fixedness. Once our cognitive maps are stored a particular concept in a certain way, the reality is we don't pay much attention to it anymore. A vacuum cleaner is a vacuum cleaner, a store is a store, a TV channel is a TV channel, a gym is a gym. Our minds are extremely good at recognizing and applying existing patterns, but we are nowhere near as good at critically questioning or creatively rethinking these patterns continuously. How many of us have asked, what else can a vacuum cleaner be used for? How else can a store be used other than to sell products? What other function can a refrigerator have? That is called functional fixedness. We don't question anymore. A mental block that limits us to understand and using the things around us only in the traditional ways that we have learned. The more fixed our pattern becomes, the more difficult it is for us to mentally move beyond them, to look at something conventional and reimagine it. Functional fixedness is one of the reasons why when we start to say something, we can't stop ourselves till we have completed speaking for maybe 5-10 minutes on something without thinking whether it is relevant to what we are speaking. We think it is so, and that is the end of it. The third is called cultural alignment. Then there are institutional patterns of behavior, explicit rules and regulations, standard operating procedures, code of conduct in our society, in our family, in the institutions that we are in the country we are in. We think we should behave only in a particular fashion. Implicit cultural norms and unwritten rules which guide conditions is what is called cultural alignment. You are a Hindu, you have to behave like this. You are a Brahmin, you have to behave like this. You are a CEO, you have to behave like this. You are a salesperson, you have to behave like this. You are a doctor, you have to behave like this. These recurring patterns are reinforced across the entire group so that if one member starts behaving differently, the others will reflexively nudge him or her back to the accepted way of doing things. I think Mr. S.K. Das was talking about this. Think how this pattern recognition system has blocked you. A married woman has to behave only like this. Do you realize how much unhappiness it must be causing her? How much it has restricted her creativity? And when a married woman breaks the shackles of what the prescribed norm is, the society starts looking at her as though she is a criminal. Her fault was that she realized that she doesn't want to be shackled into that box of a married woman anymore. And that brings us to one of the most dangerous things, that is called hyper-reflection. What is this hyper-reflection? As a human being, we seem to have an inherent aversion to altering our familiar patterns. Think about how hard it is to break old habits and to form new ones, or to see things from another perspective once we have come to view our understanding something in a particular way. We don't want to change it. We find it extremely difficult. There is this story, the poem of a caterpillar and a frog. A caterpillar was walking in a garden when a frog suddenly jumps in front of it. It was a centipede which was walking, not a caterpillar, and he asked the centipede, my goodness, how coordinated you are that all your 100 legs are walking so uniformly in a rhythm and you're moving. The centipede felt very proud that it was being complimented. The very next question came, by the way, so which foot starts first and which follows next? The moment the centipede started thinking, it collapsed because it was so habituated to walking that it simply did not think about it. We usually try to make things fit with the way we see them, and the whole reason we sometimes get into argument is because we want other people to see things the way we see them. Perhaps some managers are mindful of avoiding the so-called centipede effect. This can occur when a task that is normally performed with automaticity is disrupted by conscious reflection. There must be many people here in this group who are experts on the computer. I'm sure when you are typing something, you don't even look at the keyboard. You must be looking at the screen and your fingers must be flying. Take a minute off, sit down. Try to type your name consciously, spelling it out and pressing the key with your fingers. And see what happens to you. You will be subject to the centipede effect. These are the 4 things which have totally arrested man to such an extent that he has integrated it into his life as a compulsion. Surprise, isn't it? Automaticity, functional fixedness, hyper-reflection, cultural alignment. In your personal life, you have integrated it in such a way that you have made it compulsory for you to live. Can any one of you tell me how that has happened? Can any one of you tell me? What does automaticity do? How it has restricted you? How functional fixedness has restricted you? What does it do?
For example, the fixed, functional fixedness, sir. As you said, we use an object, we think only it can be used for that. So it restricts my thinking. But for hotel, normally, I don't know, where they started to serve food to attract more customers. If they thought, what else can we do to attract customers? I think that's how the 5-star or 7-star concepts came. So like that, when you look beyond how a chalk piece can be used other than the usual, not the usual way, we were thinking chalk piece means only you can use it for writing, but we can use it for different. So
yeah, you can use it to hit the student.
Yes. So this one, functional fixedness, yes, sir. One way, I thought.
No, but what does it do? What does it rob you of in your creative potential? What does it take away? Creative potential.
It adds a barrier to my thought process, especially the cultural alignment. At my workplace, I'm not very inclusive because of my cultural alignment, and I'm not keen to take ideas coming in from the rest of the set of people whom I think not belong to my wavelength. So this is a challenge which I face, sir.
You see,
in my opinion,
there are, let us say, 4 major qualities for creativity. Each one of them take away something from you so that you don't become creative. What does automaticity take away? What does functional fixedness take away? What does hyper-reflection take away? What does cultural alignment take away? It is taking away something from you. That is the reason, why you are not being creative.
Sir, our
condition. Just a minute, one by one. Yes, Mr. Ilampuram.
We are conditioned mind, sir.
Yes, true.
We are conditioned like this way. We are come out of their condition. Repeatedly, we are doing the things what they're in our subconscious mind.
True. You are right. This conditioning, the conditioning has happened in 4 different angles.
Okay.
One is automaticity. You do things by rote. Without thinking, you do it. That is to save energy so that, you know, the mind can use it for more creative purpose. The nature has created shimatas, you know, bundling of information so that it is readily available for access. You use it. Merlin Fernandez, openness to experimenting gets limited. Which one? Of the four, which one? You are right.
Sir, automaticity does not allow me to think out of the box.
Okay.
Oh, God. Automaticity doesn't allow spontaneity. Functional fixedness doesn't allow us to think out of the box. And cultural alignment.
Again, think out of the box, and all these things are phrases. Tell me in actionable terms.
Sir,
Inquisitiveness.
Huh?
Inquisitiveness, sir.
I think all
Being
the
inquisitive.
comes on the same platform. Society did not allow us to do things. Our mindset not allowed to do new kind of things. Our conditioned mind didn't allow to do creative things. I think all the
Yes,
things.
you are right. All these
comes on
are
the same platform.
interconnected. That they are. You are absolutely right. All these are interconnected. But if you want to develop your, what do you call it, creativity, you require an algorithm to work through, isn't it?
Shall I?
Yes.
Shall I?
Yes.
Sir, the thing is, this automaticity, I think it kills the creativity, sir. I will give you a simple example. I am a homeopathic doctor, sir. So now we have to brainstorm our mind to select a medicine based on the case study. Actually, we have to think upon thousands of medicines to take over which medicine suits the person according to his constitutional levels, according to his mental status, according to his physical conditions. All these things we have to take a case study detail, and we have to brainstorm our mind through thousands of remedies. But nowadays, the software came. Everything is on software. If we imply symptoms on the software, the medicine will be coming automatically. So it is this pattern of shortcomes, and it is shackling this conventional it is shackling our creativity. That's what I feel. Like
You're right, madam. Thank you. I get the idea. Thank you.
Sir, sir, this cultural alignment brings in excessive orderliness. We have to stick to that only. So that restricts me from looking beyond the horizon.
Okay, let us see. Let us go about it in a bit more, you know, like one gentleman was telling.
Sir,
all these things, yes.
We have to break our conditioned mind. What you can say, your mind will say one thing.
No, you see, you can't break your conditioned mind because that is how nature has meant it to be. Please understand that. But mental conditioning is good. For every small thing, you can't start analyzing and doing things. There are things which have to be done by rote. That you cannot avoid it.
We are doing the things.
What you should be saying is, you should be looking at is, how do you understand what is preventing what, so that you will be able to balance these automaticity function. You see, for instance, a refrigerator is meant to store, you know, perishable items so that they can be fresh for a longer period of time.
Okay.
That continues. You cannot break that away. What else can you do? This question is what will help you overcome functional fixedness. Functional fixedness, if you are going to surrender to it, will prevent you from asking questions of what if, what more can I do with this? Similarly, each one of them has got a particular thing which you can do by which you can overcome it. Let us see that. The first thing is automaticity. Automaticity reduces your ability to observe. When you have got shimatas formed, for instance, let me give you a simple example. If you are driving a gearless car, suddenly you are given a car with a gear, you will struggle. Because you are driving a gearless car, you are conditioned to go about it in the same way. You never observed what was really required to be done if the gear was not there. It has got conditioned. The ability to observe has been seriously reduced. In other words, focus and concentrate are two terms which come out of this automaticity, which we have integrated into our life to such an extent that anyone who is not focused or who is not concentrating on something totally with one-mindedness, we do not consider him as capable. But a creative person will not be very focused or will not concentrate exclusively in an obsessive manner at any one particular thing. He will observe everything around him. His concentration will be more on the need to generate solutions rather than a particular pathway. Automaticity restricts you to a pathway. That brings us to the next one, functional fixedness, reduced ability to question. Functional fixedness always reduces our ability to question. And what are the terms which are used in real life for this? Follow and be disciplined. We are taught not to question our elders. We are taught not to question our superiors. We are taught not to question our customs. We are taught to be disciplined and live in a particular way. Functional fixedness. We have assigned certain behavioral patterns to certain situations and positions. We can't come out of it. You know, in the US, you will be very surprised to know that there are two categories of employees in most organizations called the creatives and the suits. The creatives are those who, have positions which require creative thinking, and they are given leeways to wear whatever they want. And the suits are those who don't carry those positions, that they have got a prescribed uniform. To such an extent, society has segregated them. The third is your cultural alignment. It has reduced our ability to network with others than our own type. We even have a saying for it: birds of the same feather stick together. Just imagine. To what extent cultural alignment has taken place? Today's society is totally polarized, whether correctly or wrongly, I don't know. But cultural alignment is working at its highest level. When you go to see a match, yesterday I was seeing the match between Netherlands and Argentina. People wearing Netherlands dresses were all feeling sad when Argentina won. People wearing Brazil dresses were feeling sad when Croatia won. No one was feeling happy that the better team won. That is the level of inability to network and accept something else has happened because of cultural alignment. The cultural alignment is necessary. It is a necessary functioning of the presence of shimatas, the formation of shimatas. If shimatas were not formed, you would not be able to recognize your family as your family. The filial feelings would not have been there. So it is necessary. Humans have always been tribes. There have always been hierarchies. That is why they say man is a political animal. The cultural alignment is always there. But if you want to be creative, you should be able to network outside what you are habituated to. The Renaissance in human history is supposed to be a period when there was the highest number of inventions and discoveries. Renaissance was a time when people like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Shakespeare, Edison, all these people, Newton, all these people were there. I don't think Edison was there, but Newton was there. All these people were there. It is the period when the highest amount of explosion of creativity was there. And it is called the Medici effect. Medici were a banker family from Venice who brought experts from all over the earth to come together for festivals where brainstorming used to take place. Please read the book, The Medici Effect. You will understand how creativity blossomed during that period. And there was a surfeit of inventions, starting from the printing press, which was supposed to have triggered the knowledge revolution. Because before that, knowledge was restricted just to a few people. But the printing press allowed things to be printed and circulated all over the world, and there was an explosion of knowledge. And then finally comes hyper-reflection, reduced desire to experiment, the fear of experimenting. And you know, what does this cultural alignment do? It severely affects empathy. It makes people live in silos. Mr. Anandraj, P. Anandraj was telling Dr. Tirnad just before the breakout room activity completed that you have done doctorate. That itself can be, you know, what do you call it, impediment to creativity. Specialize. Today, people learn more and more of less and less in the name of specialization. Doctors stick together, and even in doctors, you have got ENT specialists, cardiologists, gastroenterologists, dermatologists. They know more and more. You might even have a specialist for the left nostril. Specialization has gone to such an extent that you learn more and more of less and less. And then you live in that exclusive world, the world of silos. And then you've got hyper-reflection. You become such an expert that, you know, that you can do things through automaticity in everything, expertise, subject matter expert. These subject matter experts, if you challenge them on anything, they collapse for the simple reason they have to think about it. Now just look at it. Focus, concentrate, follow discipline, stick to your team, become an expert. All these things you will recognize are terms which are used in the professional world. Do you realize that? Now tell me, my dear friends, what is the opposite of creativity?
I call it conformity.
Okay.
Professionalism, sir. Professionalism is the opposite of creativity.
Raoul Vaneigem, a Belgian writer and philosopher, who was a member and a leader in the Situationist International from the year 1961 to 1970, wrote a book called The Revolution of Everyday Life, in which he defines work is the opposite of creativity. And someone rightly said, when you love your work, it is play and it is not work. If work is creativity, it is the opposite of creativity, then play should be creativity. So what is creativity? To understand what is creativity, first let us understand what it is not. There are many wrong notions or myths floating around about creativity. People believe that creativity is a flash of inspiration. Some people are inherently creative, or to say it differently, either you are creative or you are not. This is just another misconception. The list is very long. You know, whenever we think of creativity, we always are reminded of the Eureka movement. This is a notion that all creative ideas arrive in the Eureka movement. We tell stories about other people's genius ideas as if the ideas came suddenly. We conveniently gloss over the tireless concentration that came before the insight, or the hard work of developing the idea that will come afterwards. You just see this picture? The Eureka movement, under that, you have a light bulb burning. As though the light bulb signifies that sudden illumination of understanding. Edison is known to have said that he failed 9,999 times before he invented the bulb. So this bulb which is burning here is a 10,000th bulb. Is it Eureka movement? Or is it the addition of 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 10,000 times before it came? An insight or hard work of developing the idea that will come afterwards. These stories tend to make the idea, not the person, the center of the narrative. I wonder if on some level, if we like these stories so much because the Eureka myth offers us another excuse for our own lack of ideas. Maybe we try to pacify ourselves that the time has not yet come. Perhaps one day we will also get such a huge idea. The same thing is true of Newton. So, did an apple really fall? For the Eureka movement? The Eureka myth doesn't offer much in the way of guidance for generating creative ideas and innovative breakthroughs. If at all anything, if you believe in the Eureka movement, you can never become creative. Because then it is a sudden flash of inspiration. But creativity is not that. There is a science behind creativity, and each one of you can balance those pattern recognition behavior of your brain with creativity. The objective of these masterclass is to help you understand and break the shackles of that pattern recognition while allowing it to run your regular life. You can take a chunk of your life away from it and make it creative. There's nothing in the Eureka myth, nothing in these stories to tell us how to produce these moments of insight. If something suddenly goes wrong, then what will you do? Surely there has to be something we can do to help trigger a creative revelation, besides being hit by a falling apple or water spilling from your bathtub, as it did for Archimedes. That brings us to Mihaly. Psychologist Mihaly has been searching for that something. He is another cognitive scientist. He is the one who promoted the theory of the flow. He studied the thought processes of 91 prominent creative individuals in his famous research project, including scientists like Jonas Salk and Linus Pauling. His goal was to understand how they believed they generated their creative insights. In short, he was looking for how they produced the Eureka movements by which they found things. He found that almost all the scientists he studied shared a similar creative process that consisted of 4 stages. The creative process consists of 4 different stages. Number 1 is preparation. The second is incubation. The third is illumination. And the 4th is evaluation. He has placed, where Eureka myth to tell us that the insights are triggered by chance happening. Mihaly has placed this movement in the center of a larger and more elaborate process. Yes, it is that.
Can you please repeat that 4 steps?
You will see the 4 steps. Please wait.
Okay.
We will discuss the 4 steps in detail. Eureka movements just don't happen. They are preceded by research and preparation and are birthed from a period of mental unfocus. Let's understand this observation from the angle of the brain and see how it fits in. We have to understand how the brain works. Only then we will be able to understand it. The creative process is dependent upon 2 pathways that are dominant in the brain. These 2 pathways are called the deliberate pathway. Veena is very, very, obsessed with the right and the left brain. The deliberate pathway is the left brain. And the spontaneous pathway is the right brain. to put it very, very, what do you call it, in a juvenile manner. We have got these two pathways. The main difference between these two pathways in terms of neuroscience is that the executive center, the prefrontal cortex, in the dominant left hemisphere of your brain, that is the left brain, remains steadfastly in control of the creative process in the deliberate pathway. In other words, the executive center directs what you think about, what you call up from your memory bank as you attempt to work creatively. It is totally in control. Nothing happens outside it. It is in the left brain, in the prefrontal cortex. This is responsible for the deliberate pathway. In contrast, the spontaneous pathway relinquishes some control. The executive center, after working for a long time, either gets fatigued or purposefully relinquishes some control of the conscious thought process. This allows more ideas from the association center, which is connected to the spontaneous pathway in the temporal and occipital parietal lobes of the right brain, and allows ideas to come up which would ordinarily be blocked from awareness to manifest in the conscious. There is evidence that the spontaneous process also allows more integration from the non-dominant hemisphere of the brain, that would be the right hemisphere for both right and left-hand people. That means the creative process contains both the deliberate as well as the spontaneous pathway. The deliberate pathway has the executive center of the left brain, which directs the behavior of the brain in trying to accumulate all the information which is necessary, arrange it in a particular fashion. At the stage, it relinquishes control to the association centers in the right brain, in the temporal and parietal lobes. And the spontaneous pathway takes place. What does it do? It works subconsciously. The result is that the creative idea may suddenly spring into consciousness when you're least expecting it, giving you the impression of a Eureka moment. It is crucial to problem finding and thinking through and being able to break away from one way of looking at the problem to see a different perspective. The spontaneous pathway allows for information from distant brain parts to come together and apply knowledge about one concept to another. They act as an internal research and development department that produces both novel and mundane combinations of stored and perceived material. This is the biggest thing. So, if you want to graphically explain the functioning of the deliberate and the spontaneous pathway, you can say the creative process consists of preparation, gathering information and exploring, focusing on the problem. That is the first part of the creative process. And in doing so, you should not be biased. You should always remember that the automaticity, the functional fixedness, the cultural alignment, the hyper-reflection is always functioning at the back of your mind. So you should be able to observe, you should be able to ask questions, you should be able to network, and you should be willing to experiment with everything in an unbiased manner. Having gathered the information, you allow it to incubate, internalize the problem, and then take a break from actively thinking about it. That's why elders always say, when you have a serious problem, sleep over it. Don't be in a hurry, just sleep over it. They knew that this spontaneous resolution of a problem will take place at some stage, provided you allow it to happen. But many of us, we are so engrossed in our pattern recognition system that we are not willing to allow our subconscious to work through. That brings us to the illumination part, when suddenly a moment of insight in the solution to the problem pops into our awareness. This is where the last, that is the hyper-reflection part, comes in. Verification, judging the appropriateness of the idea and applying it to the problem and trying it out. This is a theory which has been given by cognitive science. It has been given by neuroscience. It has been given by the research conducted in Harvard by Teresa Mabel. Is there any reality to it? That is a question which we need to ask. In 1874, Alexander Graham Bell was taking a break from his everyday life in Boston, which involved working as a speech therapist while struggling to find the means of creating what he called harmonic telegraph. One evening, he walked to a ridge that overlooked the Grand River near his parents' house in Bradford, Ontario. And there he got the idea for the prototype. When the prototype was in working order, it was Watson on the receiving end of the Bell's device. On February 14, 1876, Graham Bell filed a notice with the US Patent Office in Washington. The telephone was born. Did I say born? It was born twice. The same day, notice was filed at the same patent office by Elisha Gray, an accomplished inventor, filed a patent caveat for a remarkably similar device. Gray had a significant history of working with telegraph technology. He had invented the self-adjusting relay switch and the telegraph printer, both of which had drastically moved the telegraph industry forward. He had set the sights on the transmission of sound through the telegraph around the same time as Bell, and coincidentally filed his invention with the US Patent Office on the same day in exactly the same location. After both patents were registered, Bell began making telephones and founded the company that is today known as AT&T. What happened? Bell sued Gray. Gray, many believe, developed a better telephone, settled the lawsuit, and abandoned his claim, and nobody knows Elisha Gray. Do you remember when Mr. Das told someone that when he said that our team also thought of the same thing without being in connection with room number 3? I told you to remember it.
Yes.
Why? If it can happen here, why it cannot happen in other place? Because all of us were talking about the same thing. Different people were thinking the same thing, but it is natural that two different people should come to the same conclusion. My dear friends, that in history, there is record of 148 such experiments, such discoveries being done together. Incidents of nearly simultaneous discovery or invention have a long history. The first comprehensive list of such multiples was written in 1922 by William Ogburn and Dorothy Thomas, both sociologists in Columbia University. Let us see what are the famous inventions which have this thing. Elisha Gray and Graham Bell came up with the telephone. Oxygen was simultaneously discovered by Joseph Priestley and Carl Wilhelm Scheele. Nikola Tesla and Marconi simultaneously invented the radio. Calculus was simultaneously invented by Newton and Leibniz. In fact, big ideas are in the air waiting to be hit upon. And how and why does this happen? Why do disparate people hit upon the same big idea or invention? Is partly because, as Thomas Ogburn theorized, inventors and thinkers are products of that time. The things they think about and ponder are heavily influenced by the state of culture, science, and the arts during their movement. Why do I say this? Just to prove that inventions are not a flash of creativity. It is a process. And if you follow the process, then you will also invent the same thing which may be invented in Germany, France, London, New York, or Russia. It doesn't matter. Because the same requirements are there all over the world. And the people are working on the same thing. The process is the same. We have to only understand the process. That is what has been taught by Creativity in Context by Teresa Mabel. Any questions so far? No, if not, then I will proceed. Teresa Amable is a professor from Harvard University on creativity. She's the head of the Department of Creativity, and she has worked along with scientists to create a componential model of creativity. Numerous research into business organizations have proved that creativity is influenced by 4 separate components. The first of them is domain relevant skills. You should be an expert in the domain in which you are conducting research. If you are an expert in the domain of the relevant skills in which you want to test your creativity, the second is you should understand the creativity relevant process. What is that creativity relevant process that you need to understand? That is a process. Creativity relevant process are people's methods to approach a given problem and generate solution. These techniques are employed to examine a problem from various angles, combine knowledge from multiple fields, and depart from status quo responses. In other words, break the shackles of pattern recognition model. The third is task motivation. How motivated are you to persist with the task? 9,999 times Edison failed in creating the light bulb. 10,000 times he did it. That means he had the motivation to continue with it. And finally, the only thing which is not in the control is the social environment. The social environment is the only component that exists entirely outside the individual's control. Let us understand how the whole thing really works through a different graphics. First thing is expertise. You cannot create from nothing. You must have expertise knowledge through which, though how much knowledge you need, when you need it, and how best to acquire the technical, procedure, and intellectual are all in your hand. You can get the knowledge that you want, the technical, the procedure, and the intellectual knowledge required to become a domain expert. You can get it. That brings us to the 7 steps of the creative thinking. To produce real innovation, knowledge in hand of it by itself is not sufficient. You must also understand and master and develop a creative process mindset. When you have the creative process mindset and you have the knowledge, then arises a particular way of thinking called the counterfactual thinking. This breaks your functional fixedness. It starts asking the question, what if? What will happen if this is done like this? What more can be done with what is available with us? This counterfactual thinking will ensure that your functional fixedness is destroyed. That will create a desire for a better solution. That means you are no more living within the pattern that you are in. You step out of your comfort zone. You break the limitations of your cultural alignment. You are no more in the group which is restricting you. This enhances your task motivation. It becomes very high. You persist with it. In a passionate manner, you start experimenting. And when all this finds a favorable social environment, you are through. You are now ready for becoming a creative genius. This is the solution provided by Teresa Amable. The key here is the 7 steps of creative thinking. Now, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to ask you a question. We will maybe take another 5-10 minutes, if it's okay with you. Okay. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson go on a camping trip. They pitch a tent and light a campfire, have an excellent dinner and a bottle of wine, and then they retire for the night and go to sleep. Some hours later, suddenly Holmes wakes up, nudges his faithful friend Watson and tells him, Watson, look up at the sky and tell me what you see. Watson answers, I see millions and millions of stars, Holmes. Sherlock Holmes listens to it and asks him, and what do you deduce from that? Watson ponders for a minute and answers, well, astronomically, it tells me that there are millions of galaxies and potentially billions of planets. Astrologically, I observed that Saturn is in Leo. Horologically, the time is approximately 3:15. Meteorologically, I suspect that we will have a beautiful day tomorrow. Theologically, I can see that God is all-powerful, a great creator, and that we are small and insignificant part of the universe, a creation of that creator. Then he asked Holmes, what does it tell you, Holmes? If you are Holmes, what would be your answer?
Can I attempt?
Yes.
Somebody stole the tent.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. When they are sleeping inside a tent, if the tent had not been stolen, he could not have seen the stars. Now, why did I ask this question? Why did I ask this? Can anyone tell me? Yes, Mr. Yogesh, can you tell me the answer as why I asked this question?
No.
The secret is not in the answer, but in the question.
There are two ways to see.
I was conditioning you constantly through this. Just see. I see millions and millions of stars. So I have taken you away into the world of stars. Then, astronomically, it tells me millions of galaxies, potentially billions of planets. Astrologically, Saturn is in Leo. Horologically, time is 3:15. Meteorologically, I suspect that it will be a beautiful day tomorrow. Theologically, God is all powerful. That is a small and insignificant part of the universe. What am I doing? I am taking you away into an imaginary world of what Watson was seeing.
Mental conditioning.
Mental conditioning was happening. I'm very happy that Yogesh did not fall into that conditioning. He broke it. It was a
Perhaps
great
he knew
answer.
the joke.
I don't know, but whatever it is, we have to give credit to him for the answer. Okay, so you see, in other words, this mental process, you see, the child, when it is logged, when the mind is controlled by this pattern recognition, life is a drag. But when you allow it to flower, your life becomes happy. In today's introductory webinar, my dear friends, we have seen this far of what Teresa Amable has spoken of as domain-related expertise, the creative process mindset, task motivation, and the social environment. You are all experts in your own area. You're all experts. You've got all domain expertise. You all have the task motivation, or you would not be sitting through this 2 hours of program. The third thing is, I'm sure you're all capable of creating a socially favorable environment for yourself, because as Yogita ji said, life, she has come so far, she would like to go back and reclaim her creativity. When the desire is there in you to reclaim her creativity, nothing can stop you. And when you know how to reclaim it, as you will in the future master classes, you will realize that creativity is a wonderful thing to reclaim and life can become very beautiful. In our next class, we will be seeing the creative relevant process. Maybe in another fortnight's time, I will conduct the next introductory masterclass number 2 on the creative relevant process. Now, this creative relevant process has to become an implicit process if you have to master it. That means it has to become your second nature. The creative relevant process is also called the implicit process mindset. We will see what the 7 implicit process mindset are. Hopefully, with these 2, you will get introduced to what creativity really is, and that it is not something very difficult to reclaim and practice. Can I ask you a simple question to close? You are walking on a dark street, and there is a huge cut, a hole, a depression in the middle of the street, and it is pitch dark. What do you think will happen?
I may fall down.
Yes, you may fall into it. Suddenly, what happens? There is a lightning. In that fraction of a second of the lightning, you see that cut in a distance. Now, what will happen?
There'll be a jerky movement. Stop.
And,
Suddenly stop.
So you will not fall. Chances are you will not fall and you will do something to avoid it, isn't it?
True.
Similarly, my dear friend, this introduction to creativity is a lightning which has come in your life. It is going to throw light on what it is that you can do by yourself. Then in the future master classes, we will see how to reclaim the creativity. What is it? What are the exercises you can do to reclaim your creativity? How you can model your everyday life so that you can become more creative and start enjoying life. The Creator made us because he was creative and he enjoyed his creation. That means creation, which is the result of creativity, is something which is enjoyable. You can see the face of the child here, how happy he is. What happens when you lock up your creativity? Thank you, friends. We can spend a few minutes for questions, and then we can, maybe meet about 15 days later to understand the implicit process.
Sir, M. Chidambaram, just 1 minute, sir, if you permit
Yes,
me.
yes, Mr. Chidambaram.
Excellent presentation, sir. Though I've been handling the subject for 30 years, I've got so many new points in a different way. Thank you so much, sir. I think all of us are.
Thank you, Mr. Chidambaram. Thank you. All I have done is copy from research books and put it here. That's all.
That is your expert. You are going deeper, sir. That is your USP. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any questions, please? I think Mr. Kumaran had a few questions. He had raised his hand. Mr. Kumaran, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Mr. Kumaran.
Automaticity and functional fixedness, we should have to some extent, because we cannot.
We have to have, absolutely. There is no doubt about it. As I said, creativity is, you see, we have handed over our entire life to these 4 things. What are the 4? Automaticity, functional fixedness, cultural alignment, and hyper-reflection. And what is the outcome? We don't observe things. We don't question things. Not observing, we call as focusing, concentrating, being one-mindedness, being one-minded. That is the share from Ghalib. हमें मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल बहलाने को गालिब, ये ख्याल भी अच्छा है. You should be focused. कह दिए बस चलो अब focus रहो. And then functional fixedness, we don't question anything. We are taught not to question our elders. We are taught not to question our bosses. Our bosses know best. We are taught to accept everything as presented to us. This is the way things are done.
So we have a lassi maker in a washing machine in Delhi becomes a news kind of thing.
Yes. You are absolutely right, Yogesh.
No, I heard a joke sort of that Sardar is making lassi in a washing machine.
Yes. Yes.
And one small, I observed that
Another Alicia Gray
morning,
moment, sir.
morning 3:30.
No, I'll ask you a simple question. What do you use a refrigerator for in the Antarctica?
Nothing.
No,
needed.
to keep the water liquid.
True.
So you see, we never question anything. You know one thing, is there any other use for a vacuum cleaner?
We are using it for drying some components.
Absolutely, you can blow the air and dry it. And secondly,
yes.
I was taught to use it to put camphor and blow it in the house so that the house will smell nice and there won't be insects and mosquitoes. So I say we don't question functional fixedness, the cultural alignment. Now imagine so many of us are sitting here together and we are enjoying a beautiful evening, Saturday evening. If we are going to be locked in our mind, I'm this, you are that, how will we enjoy ourselves? How will we share knowledge? How will we grow? You see, I remember my first interview in Hindustan Lever, that was way back in 1976 or 77. Mr. Ganguly, who was the then, I think, chief executive or president of Hindustan Lever, I had the opportunity to be interviewed by him. He asked me, he said, what is the difference between a Bengali, a South Indian, or a Marwari? I was such a dud. I said, South Indians and Bengali, because he was a Bengali, mind you, and I am a South Indian. So I said, South Indians and Bengalis are very intelligent. I didn't get the job. Today I know why. Today I know why. So you see, cultural alignment. If I did not have that cultural alignment, the need to make him identify with me, I would have told there is no difference. There are good, bad, intelligent duffers in every state. But cultural alignment worked. I did not know about creativity then. I wish Ganguly would call me and ask me, give me an interview again, and I'm sure I'll get the job. Then in a hyper reflection, we don't want to experiment with anything. There are ways things are done, and that is how things are done. In many offices, when you go, when you are onboarded in your new job, you are told by your superior, this is the way things are done here. What more can be ridiculous? People talk about output and never outcome.
The comment I want to make is, it looks like with creativity, it's never too late.
It's never late, sir. You're absolutely
it's like
right.
it can happen anytime. When I look at our ages, so old, but you're opening us up to this aspect of creativity, despite our ages. There's no time limit.
Age. The only place where you can't be possibly creative is in the grave because you don't have space. As long as you have space, mental and physical, you can be creative. Just enjoy, chill. Life is meant to enjoy, and if you want to enjoy, you have to be creative. There's no other way out. In the next class, friends, please do register and join. We will be discussing the 7 creative processes. Okay, good night. Thank you.
You opened our eyes and minds. I think we should follow some little things.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, and good night. Good night, sir.
Thank you,
Night,
sir. Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Thank you
Happy
very much,
weekend to
sir.
all.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.